स्टार्ट हो गया? ओके, सो विल कीप इट इन टाइम लिमिट, ठीक है. सो today we'll talk about a kind of quick review of physical anthropology, ठीक है, or you can say biological anthropology. In this session, okay, we will talk about a general overview of physical anthropology and some specific topics in which how to introduce, how to put case studies and how to conclude, ठीक है, कुछ चीज़ों पे बात करेंगे. And yesterday's session was complete revision of theories, ठीक है, so वो आप एक बार रेफर कर सकते हो. Okay, in biological anthropology there are many segments, you can say, because I am using the term biological anthropology, not physical anthropology. So when I say biological anthropology, so includes primatology. Sherwood Washburn says that the scope of new physical anthropology or biological anthropology is more wider. It includes primatology, that means the study of evolution. It involves the study of serology, genetics, ठीक है, इन सब की, इवन पैलियो एंथ्रोपोलॉजी, ठीक है, पैलियो प्राइमेटोलॉजी. सो बायोलॉजिकल एंथ्रोपोलॉजी इंक्लूड्स द स्टडी ऑफ ह्यूमन इवोल्यूशन एंड ह्यूमन डाइवर्सिटी by applying many systematic methods, ठीक है. Physical anthropology was primarily dealing about the diversity aspect, right? Physical anthropology का main purpose था to categorize humans into different races on the basis of some anthropometric measurements, ठीक है. Now in this we have, you can say, primatology, right? We have study of human evolution, so theories of evolution. Okay, we have that paleoprimatology, paleoanthropology, then we have genetics, then after genetics we have the study of, you can say, diversity like races, है ना. We have population genetics, we have growth, we have disease, we have demographic anthropology, ठीक है. ये सब चीज़ें इसमें है और लास्ट में अप्लाइड. So I will pick up few questions from almost each of these dimensions, ठीक है. I will pick up themes, broader themes. So first and foremost I will give you a broader idea on the theories of evolution that will so you can say theories of evolution. Almost every second year you will find one or the other theory on evolution, ठीक है. So theories of evolution, you normally study that Darwin is there, okay, and here we have pre-Darwinian theories, right, that involves creationism, right, destructionism or catastrophism, etc., etc. Most important pre-Darwinian thinker was Lamarck, or you can say Lamarckism, which was the first scientific account to explain organic evolution, right? Post Darwinian theories, we have germplasm hypothesis of August Weismann. Okay, here we have mutationism of de Vries. Okay, even because you say that in 1960s Mendel have discovered some laws of genetics, but उनका rediscovery 1900 में हुआ था. So you can say in between that Mendel's laws somewhere, Mendelism. Okay, and finally combination of all these in the form of synthetic theory. Synthetic theory, ठीक है. So pre-Darwinian, Darwin and post-Darwinism. सिंथेटिक थ्योरी के बाद में आपका इसका क्रिटिसिज्म करने के लिए आपकी बहुत सारी थ्योरीज है, राइट. वन थ्योरी इज पंक्चुएटेड इक्विलिब्रियम थ्योरी. Okay, now in this I am going to tell you few things, like that is, you know, most of these theories except this one and this one, except mutationism and punctuated equilibrium, all these theories, whether it is Lamarckism, whether it is Darwinism, whether it is germplasm hypothesis or synthetic theory, these all are, you can say, they consider that evolution is a gradual process of change. So I am taking one question here. The question is whether evolution is a gradual process of change or it is caused by some sudden events. ठीक है? So evolution is gradual or sudden. That is the debate here. That is the main theme of discussion for us. ठीक है? So normally ये आपको नहीं मिलेगा debate. ठीक है? So gradual or sudden. So my question is whether organic evolution is gradual or sudden. ठीक है. See, Lamarckism, Darwinism, okay, even synthetic theory, these are the three main predominant schools of thought. Even before, you can say, synthetic theory and after Darwinism, there was Weismann's germplasm theory. All of these theories, they basically believes that evolution is a gradual process of change. Let us see how. Lamarck talked about four postulates when he described his hypothesis of organic evolution. ठीक है? What are those four changes, or you can say four postulates? So first is elan vital, internal urge that lead to increase in size. Second is external environmental pressure and, you can say, creation of new desire and emergence of new organs. Third is use and disuse of organs. Fourth is inheritance of all acquired characters in the next generation. ठीक है? So अगर inheritance होगा तो एक generation से दूसरी generation से तीसरी generation, so it is a gradual process of change. Darwin similarly talks about evolution through the five postulates that he, you can say, gave on the basis of his experiences, his observations, right, or his influences from Charles Lyell or Wallace or Malthus, इन सब से जो भी इंस्पायर होके या फिर उनका खुद का ऑब्जर्वेशन कॉलोनियलिज्म को लेके. So he says that prodigality of overproduction, right, there is competition, In that competitive world there are variations. Some variations are favorable and some are not favorable. Favorable variations are selected by the nature, unfavorable is not selected by the nature. The selected variation will have differential reproduction, right, because उसको selective advantage मिल रहा है, so उसकी population grow करेगा and that will lead to creation of new species, that is speciation. That is how. So again what he is saying is gradualism. ठीक है, synthetic theory is just the modification of Darwin's hypothesis, because the natural, you can say, selection was kept intact here, but it is just giving the explanation of the things what is not explained by Darwin. What is the cause of variation that was not explained in the Darwin's hypothesis. So synthetic theory using all the prevalent thoughts of that time, whether it is Mendelism, whether it is population genetics, okay, whether it is mutationism, all that was compiled here to explain that what are the causes of variation. ठीक है, again it believes in natural selection, so it is also gradualism. There is a parallel line of thought that says that evolution is sudden. ठीक है, what are the, you can say, proponents of this school? So first who says, मैं अगले पेज पे ले लेता हूँ, so that evolution, organic evolution is a sudden change. First and foremost is saltationism. ठीक है, saltationism, this is a kind of belief which is parallel to Lamarckism. जब लामार्क ने अपनी हाइपोथेसिस दी थी तो saltationism वहीं से बोर्न हुआ था, उसी के कुलीग थे सेंट हिलेर. Saint Hilaire says that evolution is because of sudden monstrosities that originate. ठीक है, it is due to sudden monstrosities which are inherited in the next generation. These monstrosities, because you can say in a kind of sense they are talking about mutation. Saltationism का जो idea था, it was taken up later on by Hugo de Vries in his mutational hypothesis. Mutationism, ठीक है, mutationism का जो concept था, mutationism मतलब ये भी, it is also talking about sudden abrupt changes, spontaneous changes, random changes, right? These are the characteristics of mutation. ठीक है, sudden, random, abrupt, spontaneous changes in the genetic structure is mutation. It can be on the gene level or chromosome level. So that is mutationism. Okay, mutationism का idea आगे और pick up करता है punctuated equilibrium theory, which is the main opposition to the theory of synthetic, you can say, modern synthesis. Punctuated equilibrium theory. ठीक है, इसके मेन प्रोपोनेंट थे स्टीफन जे गाउल्ट, वेरी फेमस अमेरिकन इवोल्यूशनरी biologist and philosopher Stephen J. Gould. It says that evolution takes place in form of some punches, then equilibrium. Punches, that means sudden change. Punch is a sudden change, and then equilibrium. How, you know, what is the evidence for this punctuated equilibrium? It says that evidences, fossil evidence are missing in between, links are missing. So that is how this theory is based, and this is the main opposition to the synthetic theory of organic evolution. Is it clear? So there are two lines of thought to understand organic evolution. One is gradualism and second is, you can say, sudden, ठीक है, abrupt. These are the favor, you can say who favor that it is gradual, and these are who favor that it is sudden. ठीक है. Now how to conclude such answers? both explanations you can say is based on some tangible evidences. More research is needed. The safest conclusion will be that. ठीक है, more research is needed in order to trace the evolutionary history, and it require interdisciplinary collaboration of archaeologists, ठीक है, geologists, anthropologists, evolutionary biologists, ठीक है, and you can say culture historians. ठीक है, इन सब का आप यहाँ पे कंक्लूजन में ये बताओगे, बिकॉज सभी का चाहिए. जियोलॉजिस्ट बताएंगे क्लाइमेट चेंज पास्ट में कैसा रहा और उसका क्या इम्पैक्ट रहा होगा. ओके, सो सभी चीज़ों को आपको एक होलिस्टिक पिक्चर प्रेजेंट करना है एग्जामिनर के सामने. राइट, दिस विल बी योर very good evening all of you. I'm not very used to the YouTube sessions, so okay, this was, I believe you can do it now. अगर ये क्वेश्चन इस लाइन पे आएगा, और hopefully I gave you a brief overview, ठीक है, of these evolutionary theories. इनके criticism वगैरह, basic postulates वगैरह, I believe you can do it very well, easily. सारे laws वगैरह भी आप आराम से कर लेंगे, that I believe. Right, that okay. Now second main theme is this methods of genetic study, methods of studying human genetics. मेथड्स ऑफ स्टडिंग ह्यूमन जेनेटिक्स, ठीक है, और उसमें हम पेडिग्री एनालिसिस पढ़ते हैं, है ना. यू कैन से नेचर नर्चर योर ट्विन स्टडीज, ठीक है, यू डू द फैमिली स्टडीज, देन साइटोजेनेटिक मेथड्स, है ना, बायोकेमिकल मेथड्स, ठीक है. साइटोजेनिक में आपका कैरियोटाइपिंग वगैरह वगैरह ये सब, उसके बाद उनकी टेस्टिंग. बायोकेमिकल में आपका जो क्या कहते हैं, आपके इलेक्ट्रोफोरेसिस वगैरह, जो सब चीज़ें, ब्लोटिंग वगैरह करना, वो सब आ जाता है, ठीक है. अब पेडिग्री एनालिसिस, everybody knows that what is pedigree, what is the main principle behind it. Mendelism is the principle behind it. You know the symbols about it, and you know the types of it also. Okay, how to write conclusion for the question of pedigree. So mainly मैंने आपको क्वेश्चन बता दिया, स्ट्रक्चर कैसे होगा. इंट्रोडक्शन विल बी देयर, राइट. यू विल राइट ऑन विच प्रिंसिपल इट इज बेस्ड. सो Mendelism is the main principle. It follows the Mendelian laws, right? The traits that follow Mendelian laws of inheritance can be studied using pedigree. ठीक है. You can write about symbols. अगर 10 मार्कर है, कम लिखना, main symbols लिखना. Then you have to talk about the types. ठीक है. You can say types can be autosomal and sex linked, dominant and recessive. Accordingly you can just give the examples. Autosomal dominant के example Huntington, ठीक है. Autosomal recessive के example हीमोफीलिया तो सेक्स लिंक्ड है, सिकल सेल एनीमिया, ठीक है. देन सेक्स लिंक्ड कैन बी एक्स लिंक्ड और वाई लिंक्ड, ठीक है. सो एक्स लिंक्ड रेसेसिव जो है आपका हीमोफीलिया है, ठीक है. एक्स लिंक्ड डोमिनेंट कौन सा है, विटामिन डी रेजिस्टेंट रिकेट्स. वाई लिंक्ड लेबर्स डिजीज है ना, रेटिनोपैथी, ठीक है, एज वेल एज हाइपरट्राइकोसिस ऑफ ईयर, ये वाई लिंक्ड है। सो ये एग्जाम्पल्स आप दे दोगे। अगर क्वेश्चन बड़ा है देन यू हैव टू ड्रॉ द डायग्राम्स एंड राइट द फीचर्स ऑफ ऑटोसोमल डोमिनेंट, ऑटोसोमल रिसेसिव, वो आपके फीचर्स डालने पड़ेंगे। ओके, आफ्टर दैट you can say naturally significance you will write. So significance, you can say you can understand the inheritance of a trait in a family. It can be useful for genetic counseling and genetic screening का तो ये method ही है, ठीक है। Conclusion में you can say it is a easy, it is easy to use method, ठीक है, बट हाँ इसके क्रिटिसिज्म भी तो मतलब यू कैन से लिमिटेशंस भी तो दे सकते हैं हम। इट कैन नॉट बी एप्लीकेबल ऑन polygenic traits. It cannot be applicable on polygenic traits, and it is based on classical genetic principles, right? Epigenetic phenomena is also not studied by pedigree, ठीक है। So इसके conclusion में आपको होगा despite its limitations, right, because of its ease of applicability, it is still used, right, although we have more advanced methods to understand the inheritance of diseases and characteristics. Is it clear? So that can be done, ठीक है। Twin studies, basically the purpose of twin study is to separate the nature nurture. Nature basically is gene, ठीक है, or you can say biology, and nurture is basically environmental factor. So sometime you people don't find a case study, है ना, कि नेचर नर्चर की केस स्टडी कौन सा देंगे, ठीक है। आर यू अवेयर ऑफ मार्गरेट मीड? Margaret Mead studied Samoan society of Samoa, and she wrote a book on the basis of her fieldwork, Coming of Age in Samoa, in 1928 approximately. Coming of Age in Samoa, right? See, when she went to Samoa, at that time there was a prevalent एक नॉर्म था, prevalent एक तरह से एक बिलीफ था अमेरिका में, that hormones led to changes in the adolescent behavior, right? So you can say biological factors are responsible for the rebellious adolescent behavior, right? Main proponent of that was Stanley Hall, ठीक है। स्टैनली हॉल उसके मेन प्रोपोनेंट थे। बोआस एंड हिज फॉलोअर्स डू नॉट एग्री विद हिज आइडिया, ओके, एंड दैट बिलीफ दैट सेज दैट नेचर डिटरमिन द एडोलेसेंट बिहेवियर, इन अ सेंस वी कैन से दैट शी वेंट टू समोआ and what she realized that it is the product of cultural conditioning. The adolescent behavior is not a product of biology, rather it is the product of cultural conditioning. Samoan girls, adolescent girls, did not you can say exhibit the same characteristics as was exhibited by the western girls, ठीक है। So यहाँ पे we can say it is not because of nature but it is because of nurture, ठीक है। So basically you should have the eyes. The problem with us is that we have read things in a part manner, और हमने चीज़ों को कैटेगराइज करके रख दिया। हमने उसका बेस कभी जानने की कोशिश ही नहीं की। हमने कभी सोचा ही नहीं कि कमिंग ऑफ एज इन समोआ सिर्फ एक सोशियो कल्चरल थॉट में ही नहीं पढ़ना है, ठीक है. सो यू हैव टू थिंक ब्रॉडली बियॉन्ड these things. So for that you should have the understanding of the basics. ठीक है. सो ये एक केस स्टडी आप यूज कर सकते हो. नॉर्मल आपके पास जो केस स्टडीज है, राइट, नॉर्मली वी स्टार्ट विद फ्रांसिस गाल्टन एंड ऑल दोज थिंग्स. ठीक है, ट्विन स्टडीज वगैरह में करते हैं. बट आप नेचर नर्चर, एक मतलब ट्विन स्टडी नहीं, नेचर नर्चर हाइपोथेसिस में आप डायरेक्टली यूज कर सकते हो उसको. ठीक है. ट्विन स्टडी एक मेथड है ना नेचर नर्चर को वो करने के लिए. समोआ में जो स्टडी हुई वो भी एक मेथड ही था. ठीक है. सो अगर आपके पास क्वेश्चन आता है कि नेचर नर्चर हाइपोथेसिस, व्हाट आई एम ट्राइंग टू टेल, नेचर नर्चर हाइपोथेसिस. ठीक है. सो इन दैट you can use twin studies, ठीक है, as well as you can use the study of this Margaret Mead on Samoa. And not only this, you can use her another work, Sex and Temperament in Three Primitive Societies. In that also she studied and compared three societies, Arapes, Mundugumor and Shambuli. She says that Arapes, as in Arapes man and women both are submissive. In Mundugumor both are aggressive, and in Shambuli female are aggressive and men are not aggressive. That was her argument. There also it is cultural conditioning, not biology. So she is rejecting that it is testosterone which leads to, you can say, make men more violent, more aggressive. That was the belief, that it is the testosterone which make men more aggressive than women. But if you just see that Sex and Temperament in Three Primitive Societies, there also you can use the same nature nurture hypothesis पे ये भी यूज कर देगा. नेचर नर्चर हाइपोथेसिस पे आप अपनी जो स्टडीज़ थी, बिस्वास एंड कपूर ने स्टडी किया था एज एट मिनार्क, है ना, यू कैन से आई थिंक इन दिस अरोरा फीमेल के ऊपर स्टडी किया था, राइट. उसमें भी आप नेचर नर्चर को यूज़ कर सकते हो. ठीक है. सो दीज कैन बी द स्टडीज ऑन दिस नेचर नर्चर हाइपोथेसिस क्वेश्चन. ठीक है. तो आप ट्विन स्टडीज एक मेथड है टू अंडरस्टैंड दिस नेचर नर्चर हाइपोथेसिस. ठीक है. सो आप इनसे सप्लीमेंट कर सकते हो अपने आंसर्स को, सो दैट द एग्जामिनर हैव अ ब्रॉडर आइडिया. नाउ डू वी थिंक, ऐसे क्वेश्चन अगर नेचर नर्चर हाइपोथेसिस आता है, दैट नेचर एंड नर्चर ट्विन स्टडीज बता दिया. ठीक है. डू यू थिंक दैट वी शुड हैव दिस डाइकोटोमस अप्रोच, that nature control or nurture control? Don't you think that both work in tandem, right? Sometime the nurture influences nature, right? It helps in some, you can say, activation of some genes or silencing of some genes. You can say epigenetic phenomena. Epigenetic is genetics beyond the classical genetics. ठीक है. Epigenetics means, you can say, some environmental or behavioral factors can control the expression of disease or expression of some genes. That you can use in conclusion, right? You should not have the dichotomous view of nature and nurture. ठीक है ना.
स्टडी अवेलेबल है नेट में, लेकिन कुछ यूनिवर्सिटी का है, जैसे कि ट्विन स्टडी में, मतलब वहाँ पे कुछ ऑथर का नाम मेंशन नहीं है, बस यूनिवर्सिटी वाले कैम्ब्रिज यूनिवर्सिटी कुछ स्टडी किए हैं, बस उसका लेकिन ऑथर.
कोई बात नहीं, अगर आपके पास यूनिवर्सिटी का भी है, दैट इज ऑल्सो परफेक्टली वेल. ठीक है. नाउ ये हो जाएगा. Okay, we can expect the question on CRISPR this time. CRISPR नहीं आया अभी तक. ठीक है. So CRISPR, this full form is clustered regularly interspaced palindromic repeats, and Cas9, that CRISPR associated protein 9, that is a kind of, you can say, nuclease, ठीक है, that act as a molecular seizure. Okay, and CRISPR are, you can say, palindromic repeats found in the DNA. Okay. Now, CRISPR-Cas, this technique, okay, basically this technique is an imitation of a naturally occurring defense mechanism, in soil living bacterias. ठीक है, होता क्या है, कुछ soil living bacteria है. So this is a bacteria. It has its own maybe plasmid, and it has nuclear material that is scattered in the cytoplasm. Okay, so if it is attacked by a virus, okay, so virus basically release its DNA here. Okay, so once this DNA attacks this bacterium, what happens? Either this bacteria will die, okay, maybe sometime that it does not die, it may survive. So some portion of its DNA is embedded in its structure. ठीक है, अगर हम इसमें देखें तो यहाँ पे जब ये इसमें होगा तो some portion is embedded in its structure. ठीक है, अब क्या हुआ कि अब अगर next time पे ये same bacteria which have embedded some portion of viral DNA in its DNA, then if on the second attack by the same virus, you can say it will recognize that there is something which is coming. So it will create a guide RNA, right, which will be associated with some nucleases and break down that incoming infectious DNA. ठीक है, तो क्या होगा in this next say this is the bacterial DNA. Okay, so on the next occasion when it will be attacked by the similar type of virus, okay, जब ये अटैक होगा तो क्या होगा, ये DNA, because this sequence will somewhere match with the sequence of this DNA, right, so this will produce a guide RNA. यहाँ से it will produce a guide RNA. Guide RNAs are, you can say RNAs are single stranded. So this guide RNA will have, you know, attach on the same sequence that is somewhere present here. ठीक है, and this guide RNA will be associated with a protein, a nuclease protein, ठीक है, so ये दोनों जाके वहां पे लग जाएंगे. गाइड आरएनए का काम क्या होगा, ये जाके सिर्फ ये बताएगा कि इतने से इतने लोकेशन पे आपको जाके अटैच होना है, बिकॉज इट विल डायरेक्टली कॉपी द सेम सीक्वेंस ऑन दिस पार्ट ऑफ डीएनए. बैक्टीरिया जो वायरस का डीएनए है उसके एक सीक्वेंस पे जाके अटैच होगा. एंड व्हाट दिस न्यूक्लियस विल डू, दिस न्यूक्लियस न्यूक्लियस विल हेल्प इन स्नीपिंग, कट करेगा इसको, ठीक है। सो यहाँ से हमने क्या सीख लिया, दैट देयर कैन बी ए गाइड आरएनए, ठीक है, विच विल अटैच, इट विल एक्ट एज ए, यू कैन से, जो स्केल की तरह काम करेगा कि इतने इंच से लेके इतने इंच तक काटना है, एंड दैट protein will act as a seizure, right? So that means if we know that there is a guide RNA and a nuclease, you can say Cas9 combination, both of them can be very useful tool for us to cut DNA at a particular site, ठीक है। सो हमने क्या करना है, वी कैन प्रोड्यूस गाइड आरएनए इन द लेबोरेटरी, ठीक है, और इसके साथ Cas9 लगा के वी कैन, यू कैन से, डू जीन एडिटिंग ऑन अ सुटेबल लोकेशंस दैट वी डिजायर, ठीक है। मतलब गाइड आरएनए आपने लेबोरेटरी में प्रोड्यूस किया एंड दैट अटैच्ड विद Cas9 दैट यू कैन यूज टू बेसिकली एडिट द जीन्स, दैट इज द मैकेनिज्म, ठीक है। प्रिंसिपल ये था और ये मैकेनिज्म है, वी कैन प्रोड्यूस गाइड आरएनए इन द लेबोरेटरी एंड देयर इज ए, यू कैन से, लाइब्रेरीज अवेलेबल ऑफ डिफरेंट काइंड ऑफ गाइड आरएनएस। अब इसके लिए बेसिस क्या, गाइड आरएनएस कैसे बनाया हमने, अलग अलग जीन्स के लिए वो जीनोम जो मैपिंग था, ह्यूमन जीनोम प्रोजेक्ट जो था, वो हेल्प कर रहा है उसमें, ठीक है। उसकी वजह से हमारे पास लाइब्रेरी अवेलेबल है कि कौन से जीन के लिए कौन से तरह का आरएनए चाहिए जो कहाँ जाके काटेगा, ठीक है। देन इन क्रिस्पर, ये तो आपका मेन इंपॉर्टेंट चीज़ यही था, क्या प्रिंसिपल इसके पीछे एंड हाउ इट एक्ट्स, ठीक है। सो इट हैज़ टू कंपोनेंट्स, यू कैन से क्रिस्पर हैव टू कंपोनेंट्स, गाइड आरएनए एंड Cas9, ठीक है। दीज बेसिकली वर्क इन टैंडम एंड वन विल टेल यू दैट इतने से इतने पे जाके काटना है, उस जगह पे अटैच होना है, और अदरवाइज स्निप इट। नाउ व्हाट आर द सिग्निफिकेंस एंड कंसर्न्स, आई बिलीव यू कैन डू इट। तो कंसर्न्स बहुत बार पूछा जा चुका है, ठीक है। सिग्निफिकेंस तो आपको पता ही है, डिजीज में और सब चीज़ों में हो सकता है, ठीक है। Similar some new methods also have arose, like zinc finger nucleases is one such method, right? Talens is one method. Basically they also utilizes these two things, one which attaches a particular site and other are, you can say, nucleases which cuts, ठीक है। दोनों में भी यही रहेगा। जिंक फिंगर न्यूक्लियस मतलब वो न्यूक्लियस है, न्यूक्लियस बेसिकली कट्स, ठीक है, dissolve a piece of DNA. No. सी एक टॉपिक है जेनेटिक पॉलीमॉर्फिज्म। So what is the region of genetic polymorphism? How you can say that it is a polymorph if the frequency is more than 1% of a particular allele, then you will call it a polymorph, ठीक है। What is the region for formation of polymorphism of any allele? So all those factors that bring variation, that includes mutation, that include hybridization, that includes isolation, migration, जो सारे फैक्टर्स जो थे 6-7 फैक्टर्स हक्सली ने जो डॉक्यूमेंट किए थे, एज वेल एज नेचुरल सिलेक्शन, बिकॉज पॉलीमॉर्फिज्म बनने से पहले दैट वेरिएशन शुड बी सेलेक्टेड बाय द नेचर, देन ओनली इट विल बिकम पॉलीमॉर्फिज्म, और इसीलिए जितने भी क्वेश्चंस आते हैं वो जेनेटिक पॉलीमॉर्फिज्म और नेचुरल सिलेक्शन को कंबाइन करके ही पूछते हैं, ठीक है। सो व्हाट इज द कॉज ऑफ पॉलीमॉर्फिज्म? वेरिएशन एंड सिलेक्शन, ठीक है। यू कैन से जेनेटिक पॉलीमॉर्फिज्म इज अ रिजल्ट ऑफ माइक्रो इवोल्यूशन, कैन आई से सो? है ना, इट इज द रिजल्ट ऑफ, एंड जेनेटिक पॉलीमॉर्फिज्म इट बेसिकली इंडिकेट्स वेरिएशंस, ठीक है। जेनेटिक पॉलीमॉर्फिज्म कैन बी डायरेक्टली अडेप्टेड in the question of race, in the question of genetic markers, ठीक है। some polymorphs are markers for particular population, सभी की बात नहीं करें, some polymorphs, ठीक है। some morphs, some forms of genes or alleles are particular to a population, that is a genetic marker, right? Genetic marker is a identifier for a particular population, ठीक है। रेस भी तो वही है, जेनेटिक मार्कर्स का कॉन्सेप्ट यूज कर रही है ना रेस, ठीक है। ऑल्दो रेस एज ए कॉन्सेप्ट हैज बीन रिजेक्टेड बाय द एंथ्रोपोलॉजी, अदर देन फोरेंसिक एंथ्रोपोलॉजी वी डू नॉट यूज द टर्म रेस एनीवेयर. The very use of the term race is prohibited. What you study, what are the criteria for classification of races, that is basically in historical context, not in the present context. So when you criticize, most of you criticize in the end that the term race has been out of use. But शुरुआत में जब वो लिखते हो categorization, तब आप बताओ कि that it is in the historical context, not in present context. Introduction में डाल दो. नो मैं आता हूँ रेस पे आता हूँ, पहले जेनेटिक पॉलीमॉर्फिज्म से मैं रेस पे आने वाला हूँ, ठीक है। सो बेसिकली जेनेटिक पॉलीमॉर्फिज्म इज अ इम्पोर्टेंट कॉन्सेप्ट ऑफ पॉपुलेशन जेनेटिक्स, राइट, दैट स्टडीज द जीन फ्रीक्वेंसी और एलिलिक फ्रीक्वेंसीज इन अ पॉपुलेशन, ठीक है। व्हाट आर द यू कैन से लेवल्स और यू कैन से टाइप्स ऑफ जेनेटिक पॉलीमॉर्फिज्म? इट कैन बी सेरोलॉजिकल, नॉन सेरोलॉजिकल एंड डीएनए. सेरोलॉजिकल में आपका आ जाएगा ब्लड ग्रुप्स वाला आ जाएगा, ब्लड ग्रुप एंटीजेंस आ जाएगा, ब्लड एंजाइम्स आ जाएगा, ब्लड प्रोटीन्स आ जाएगा, ठीक है. देन यू कैन टॉक अबाउट नॉन सेरोलॉजिकल लाइक सीक्रेटर स्टेटस एटसेट्रा, जो यहाँ पे भी यूज़ करते हो आप, इन दोनों में भी यूज़ करते हो, ठीक है. और डीएनए पे लाइक VNTR, RFLPs, right, single nucleotide polymorphism is also there, right. So all these things are genetic polymorphism. Now polymorphism is associated with selection, so there can be three types of selection, ठीक है. One polymorph may be suitable in one environment and may not be suitable in another environment. So that is how we studies this concept with you can say natural selection, polymorphism and natural selection, ठीक है. So stabilizing, directional and balancing. So stabilizing में आप ले लेते हो कि that sex is stabilized, right, weight वाला आप ले लेते हैं, right. In directional normally you don't have examples in human populations. So I can say the selection of lactase gene is selected in the population of the Scandinavian population, right. Why? See, normally in the world lactase deficiency is found in 70% of the population. 70% लोग इस दुनिया में they have, you can say, deficiency of lactase that helps in digestion of lactose found in milk, lactose sugar found in milk. But if you see, there is a reverse trend and there is you can say directional selection also in Scandinavian population, ठीक है. स्कैंडिनेविया में 70% लोगों में लैक्टेज पाया जा रहा है, 70 to 80% लोगों में. Even the people who migrated there, they have, you can say, lactase, right. The reason is at that place lactase is favorable at that place because sunlight is very deficient, right, and body require vitamin D. So if vitamin D helps in absorption of calcium, so if sunlight is not available, so the same work is done by lactase there. Lactase help in absorption of calcium. So that is why directional selection in that populations. ठीक है, so वो आप directional selection में use कर सकते हो. I have taken that in advanced course also. ये वाली सारी बात हमने advanced course में detail में भी की है, right? As well as we have discussed the same thing in our courses also. ठीक है, okay. So done. Balancing का तो आपको पता ही है, balanced selection का तो, right? You can give sickle cell anemia. So that is polymorphism. Now let us come to the term race. Okay, so are polymorphisms suitable, favorable or unfavorable, non-favorable? Are they favorable or not favorable? Are they good or bad? Is diversity good or bad? Diversity is good, right? So polymorphisms basically that tells us the diversity, human variations. Okay, some variation are suitable in a particular environment and some are not suitable in a particular environment. Okay, so earlier we have the understanding that there are some genetic disorders like HBS in heterozygous state. It is a favorable adaptation to the particular environment. है ना? It is favorable. When you talk about this HBS, right, sickle cell hemoglobin in normal population, then it is not favorable. But if the population lives in the malaria infested region, at that time it is favorable. ठीक है, so judgmental answer नहीं देना है, बहुत लोग उसको judgmental होके लिख देते हैं. ठीक है, it is diversity. Okay, race. Whenever you define race, right, this term I am putting in quote and unquote because the term is out of use. In anthropological literature, in anthropology, it is out of use as of now. We are using only in historical sense. See, if you talk about anthropology, especially physical anthropology, physical anthropology as a discipline, I am using the term physical, not biological, as a discipline owes its origin to the study of race. Whether you take the person like Blumenbach, you take Paul Broca, okay, or you take any other scholars of that time who were interested in study of the physical aspects of whom of men, human. So basically they are trying to measure and categorize human races. ठीक है, but now this term is out of use. The definitions that are given in your books like P. Nath, B. M. Das और जितनी भी book आप पढ़ते हो, जितने notes भी पढ़ते हो, right, including my own notes, we are using the race and definition of race in biological terms. Okay, so what is the purpose of that? You must understand now that it is historical in context. आज की डेट में यूज नहीं हो रहा. Right, in biological terms we talk about the definition given by Ashley Montagu, who was instrumental in writing the UNESCO's declaration on race. UNESCO का जो declaration था वो Montagu ने बनाया था, जिसमें कि वो फेवर करता है कि we should not use the term race, instead we should replace it with ethnic groups. ठीक है, Dobzhansky, ठीक है, Dobzhansky की definition पढ़ते हो, जितनी भी definitions आप biological पढ़ते हो, right? But what I am saying that race is not a biological construct. ठीक है, race is not at all a concept even today, right? But if somebody will ask, पहली बात तो ये समझ गए कि race as a term is out of use. What is the suitable term? that is replaced with this ethnic groups. ये बात almost सभी को पता है that race as a term is not used. What we also have to know that race is a biological construct or it is a social construct. Is it a biological construct or is it a social construct? See, it is not at all a biological construct, because अगर biological construct होता तो आज भी चल रहा होता. You understand my point? अगर biologically there are dissimilarities, then it should have been favored even today. Debate इसके फेवर में एक पॉइंट तो आता ना. So race is not a biological construct. Why it is not a biological construct? There are few points. First point is that we all are genetically similar. 99.9% of our genetic material is similar. ठीक है? First point. Second point, why it is not a biological construct? Second important point is that the people of one race are more different than people from different races. So there is a study which says that if there are three major races, Caucasoid, Mongoloid and Negroid, right? These races just differ by 6% from one another, okay, and 94% of differences are within themselves. 94% of the differences are within themselves. These races differ from one another by just 6%. Okay? So that is the second argument. Okay? Third argument. We, you can say, out-migrated from Africa around 50,000 years ago. And since then, there is, you can say, interbreeding among the different populations. There is no pure races on bloodlines, okay, or biological lines. There are no pure races. How we can say the race is a biological construct? Okay. Even we interbred with Denisovan, we interbred with Neanderthal. How we can say we are pure races, right? So that is, you can say, major critique of this concept that it is not a biological construct. अगर debate आता है race is a biological or social construct, so you can reject that. ठीक है? So it is a social construct developed by colonialists, ठीक है, to subjugate the underdeveloped nations and their people and their mindset by showing that you are different from us. Okay, you have inferior mental capability, you are colored races. So it is a social construct, it is a social political construct more precisely. Okay? ठीक है, समझ गए? सो रेस इज नॉट बायोलॉजिकल कंस्ट्रक्ट अगर आता है, बिकॉज रेस एज ए कंस्ट्रक्ट, ठीक है, ये क्वेश्चन आया हुआ है पीछे, इसलिए हम इस पे बात कर रहे हैं. ओके कॉन्सेप्ट ऑफ रेस पे अगर क्वेश्चन आएगा तो सेम यही लिखना है. हाँ, अगर सिंड्रोम पे कोई क्वेश्चन आता है, ठीक है, क्रोमोसोमल एबरेशंस यू कैन से, अगर उस पर क्वेश्चन आता है, ठीक है, or you can say some syndromes which are mentioned in your syllabus, say this is Down syndrome, ठीक है, or you can say this Patau's syndrome, Edwards syndrome, okay, or you can say Turner's syndrome, है ना, and Klinefelter syndrome, or that Cry-Duchet syndrome, right? This is a product of deletion, and this is, you can say, product of trisomy. This is monosomy, okay, and this can be trisomy और टेट्रासोमी, ठीक है, ओके। नाउ इसका एक प्रॉपर स्ट्रक्चर के हिसाब से आप लिख लेना, क्या स्ट्रक्चर होगा कोई भी सिंड्रोम का, ऊपर आएगा तो इंट्रोडक्शन, यू कैन जनरली टॉक अबाउट द नेम ऑफ द डिस्कवरर, राइट, देन यू कैन टॉक अबाउट इट्स फ्रीक्वेंसी, कितने से कितना कितनी पॉपुलेशन में रेशियो में मिलता है, then you can talk about cause, right, chromosomal non-disjunction or any other region, then you can talk about features, okay, in features you can talk about, say, general, you can say facial features, or you can simply put bodily features, ठीक है, you can talk about facial and you can say general body features, you can talk about cognitive capability, you can talk about physiological capability, you can talk about reproductive, ठीक है, in Down syndrome cognitive function is, you can say, compromised, physiological function, congenital heart disease can be there, right, thyroid problems can be there, right, body में you can say retarded growth, ठीक है, moon shaped face, bulging eyes, है ना, mongoloid face, ये सब फीचर्स हैं, ठीक है, किसी में माइक्रोसिफेली होता है तो वो फेशियल में हेड में आ जाएगा, ठीक है, रिप्रोडक्टिव अगर हम टर्नर सिंड्रोम की बात करते हैं, क्लाइनफेल्टर सिंड्रोम की बात करते हैं, देन इन दैट दे आर रिप्रोडक्टिवली स्टेराइल, दीज फीचर्स यू कैन टॉक अबाउट, देन यू कैन टॉक अबाउट डायग्नोसिस, diagnosis can be done, you can say, before birth and after birth, before birth and after birth. So before birth can be done through some methods like triple test, quadruple test, right, amniocentesis, all these things which can be advised by a genetic counselor. After birth क्लिनिकल एग्जामिनेशन, ठीक है, उसके बाद आप कर लो मैनेजमेंट, ठीक है, मेनली यू कैन से दैट you know, if the muscular weakness is there, then physiotherapy can be prescribed. If you can say voice is not proper, then speech therapy can be prescribed, right? So different you can say symptomatic treatments can be given, symptomatic treatments. Now after that, what you say that, you know, gene therapy is in the experimental stage, and in future maybe that can provide a treatment for such disorders. Okay, that can be your conclusive line. ठीक है. You may expect a question on UNESCO's declaration on races. ठीक है, वो आ सकता है. Okay, adaptation is easy chapter. I think you can do it very well. There is not much to do in adaptation chapter. Epidemiological anthropology also is easy chapter, so it is easily doable. Concept of human growth and development. That one question that I normally see in growth and development that many of the students do not understand: growth curves. Growth curves, ठीक है. So basically most of you make distance curve, most of you do this, and velocity curve. Basically when you draw this distance and velocity curve, what you are referring to, see there are four major, you can say there can be many, but mainly 4 growth curve हम लेते हैं, 4 growth curves. ठीक है. What are those 4 growth curves? Say this is 200%, this is 100%, 0, ठीक है, and this can be age, you can say 18 years, approximately 10 years, 5 years, 15 years, ठीक है, age in years. Okay, and in this side we can talk about growth of different tissues. So you have to talk about, you can say growth of neural tissues, ठीक है, growth of neural tissues. You have to talk about the growth of reproductive tissues, ठीक है, मतलब ये प्यूबर्टी के बाद ही इनका ग्रोथ होगा. रेड इज रिप्रोडक्टिव. ठीक है. थर्ड इज जनरल बॉडी ग्रोथ कर्व. दिस इज जनरल बॉडी ग्रोथ कर्व. ओके, एंड दिस जनरल बॉडी ग्रोथ कर्व को आप नॉर्मली इन डिस्टेंस और वेलोसिटी कर्व से स्टडी करते हो ग्रोथ मेथड्स में. सो ये इसका रिप्रेजेंटेशन है. इट इज नॉट द एग्जैक्ट रेप्लिका, यू कैन से आंसर टू दिस क्वेश्चन ऑन ग्रोथ कर्व्स. इज इट क्लियर? सो मेनली इतना कंफ्यूज नहीं करना है. ये भी बना सकते हो बट इट इज नॉट द फुल आंसर. ठीक है. सो ये सिर्फ बॉडीली ग्रोथ के रिप्रेजेंट करने के लिए जो स्केमन्स कर्व जो है. ठीक है. देन यू कैन से ग्रोथ कर्व ऑफ लिम्फोइड टिश्यूज. सो वो 10 साल के अराउंड 200% आ जाता है और फिर वो डिजेनरेट होना शुरू हो जाता है. ठीक है. लिम्फोइड टिश्यूज. देन सो that you have to understand in growth curves. That is that I find important. I hope all of you know the secular growth, catch-up growth, stages of growth सभी को पता होगा. Factors affecting growth and development, that is you can say genetic factor, biological factors and environmental factors. Environmental factor may include physical environment as well as social environment. ठीक है. One question can be, normally biological theories of aging तो सभी को पता है. ये तो सभी को पता है ना. Social theories of aging mainly people do not know. ठीक है. So in social theories of aging mainly we have disengagement theory, ठीक है. Second is activity theory, and third is social cloak theory. ठीक है. Disengagement theory, activity theory and social cloak theory. So disengagement theory says that after a particular age people disengage from some activities. ठीक है. And that represents aging. ठीक है. People disengage from some activities. So in past, you can say in 1950s this theory came. At that time the nature of work was heavy labor. At that time it is suitable that after reaching a certain age people retire, people stop taking heavy labor. That time it was suitable, but you know that now nature of work has changed drastically. ठीक है. Even at that time also there was a criticism of this theory itself. Why activity theory? Activity theory says that people remain engaged in activities even after attaining the age, but the nature of activities change, right? After attaining certain age they are more engaged with their grandchildren, they are tending their pets or doing some social work. ठीक है. Overall nature of work remains, you can say work is there, activity is there. ठीक है. That is, you can say that comes against this theory. Social cloak theory says that there are some behaviors which are expected at a particular age. So when a child, you can say a person is young, a child, it is expected to be naughty. When it mature, it is expected that he shows maturity, right? And when one attains a particular age, so they are expect that one should retire, one should do this, one should take care of grandchildren, right? That decides, so that societal mindset decide that this person have aged. ठीक है. So these are social theories of aging. ठीक है. Biological theories, you can say cellular, you can say cellular theories, intercellular theories, ठीक है, or you can say modern theories, ठीक है, that is there. Now we have this DNA fingerprinting, right, and we have right some applications like DNA fingerprinting, DNA profiling, okay, profiling. So fingerprinting and profiling, sometime we can say it is for profiling the DNA, ठीक है, दोनों सिमिलर प्रोसेस पे काम करते हैं। डीएनए फिंगरप्रिंटिंग थोड़ा सा डिफरेंस है, इसमें हम आरएफएलपी मेथड यूज़ करते हैं, जो ट्रेडिशनल एलेक जेफरीज वाला जो मेथड था, आरएफएलपी मेथड। हियर वी यूज पॉलीमरेज चेन रिएक्शन मेथड, ठीक है। सो आरएफएलपी मेथड, डीएनए फिंगरप्रिंटिंग का बेसिस क्या है, दैट वी ऑल ह्यूमंस have 99.9% of our DNA as same, but there is difference in the rest, right? And there are some, you can say, areas on DNA that exhibits that difference, ठीक है, that we call variable number tandem repeats, right? And through RFLP method, what is RFLP? Restricted fragment length polymorphism, restricted fragment length polymorphism. Basically we tries to differentiate these repeats, variable number tandem repeats, right? कैसे करते हैं इसको, इसका प्रोसेस क्या है? सबसे पहले यू विल टेक डीएनए, ठीक है, दैट कैन बी टेकन फ्रॉम एनी सेल। आफ्टर दैट व्हाट यू विल डू, यू विल रिमूव डीएनए थ्रू इलेक्ट्रोफोरेसिस। आफ्टर रिमूविंग द डीएनए you will cut it into small fragments, right, using restriction endonuclease that will produce the restricted fragment length polymorphism, right? That means वो अलग अलग लेंथ के पीसेस में काट देगा, ठीक है। आप पहले उसको बाहर निकालोगे, फिर आप उसको क्या करोगे, रेस्ट्रिक्टेड एंडोन्यूक्लियस डालोगे। न्यूक्लियस मतलब जो काटेगा इसको, राइट, वो अलग अलग साइज के काट देगा। फिर आप उसका जेल इलेक्ट्रोफोरेसिस करोगे, राइट। जेल इलेक्ट्रोफोरेसिस मतलब उसको एक जेल के ऊपर रखोगे एंड देन दिस डीएनए दे विल बी अरेंज्ड अकॉर्डिंग टू देयर मॉलिक्यूलर वेट एंड साइज, ठीक है। आफ्टर दैट व्हाट यू विल डू, आप उसको बाहर निकाल लोगे, राइट। देन व्हाट यू विल डू, बेसिकली यू विल डीनेचर दैट। ये बेसिकली इस तरह का होता है डीएनए। डीनेचुरेशन से क्या होगा, सिंगल स्टैंडर्ड बन जाएगा, ठीक है। सिंगल स्टैंडर्ड हो जाएगा तो आप उसमें प्रोब डाल दो, ठीक है। प्रोब डालने के बाद में आप उसको क्या करो, एक स्लाइड पे रख दो और स्लाइड के ऊपर से आप कुछ रेज पास करो उसके ऊपर से, ठीक है। जो फ्लोरेसेंट जो एरिया जहाँ जहाँ अटैच होगा, अलग अलग उस लेंथ पे अलग अलग तरीके से अटैच होगा, वो हमें ये वेरिएबल नंबर टैंडम रिपीट्स का जानकारी देगा, ठीक है। वो हमें अलग अलग सीक्वेंस का मिलेगा, ठीक है। फिर उसको हम मैच कर सकते हैं दूसरे एक डीएनए से जो जिससे हम मैच करना चाहते हैं। दिस इज द मेथड दैट वी यूज, ठीक है। दिस मेथड रिक्वायर कि हमारे पास डीएनए प्रॉपर होना चाहिए, ठीक है। अगर हमारे पास स्मॉल अमाउंट ऑफ डीएनए है तो हम इसको यूज नहीं कर पाएंगे। अगर डीएनए हाईली कंटेमिनेटेड है तो ये यूज नहीं हो पाएगा। फॉर दैट वी रिक्वायर पॉलीमरेज चेन रिएक्शन वाला मेथड, देखिए, राइट। उसमें हम क्या करते हैं, उसमें हम माइक्रो सैटेलाइट्स को स्टडी करते हैं। इसमें हम मिनी सैटेलाइट स्टडी कर रहे थे, ठीक है। जो कॉर्नर वाले जो एरियाज होते हैं मिनी सैटेलाइट्स क्रोमोसोम के, वो हाईली वेरिएबल होते हैं, वो इसमें स्टडी कर रहे थे। उसमें हम माइक्रो सैटेलाइट्स को स्टडी करते हैं, शॉर्ट टैंडम रिपीट्स को। इसमें VNTR निकाल रहे थे, उसमें शॉर्ट टैंडम रिपीट स्टडी करेंगे पॉलीमरेज चेन रिएक्शन वाले में, ठीक है। डन। सो उसमें क्या होगा कि अगर आपके पास इफ यू हैव स्मॉल अमाउंट ऑफ डीएनए देन यू कैन डू व्हाट, यू कैन apply the polymerase chain reaction to increase the amount of DNA, right. Then you will cut it into pieces, right, and then you will try to study the short tandem repeats in that, ठीक है। So ये आपका yes, some of these are given in amber and amber also, but ये वाला नहीं दिया हुआ है। Maybe some of them are given. You are asking about difference between sociology and anthropology. we are talking about biological anthropology, but I will take your question in a short while, don't worry. ठीक है, यूजेनिक्स आई बिलीव कर लोगे, यूजेनिक्स तो है ना, यूजेनिक्स, यूथेनिक्स, यूफेनिक्स, ओके। एक इसका क्वेश्चन ले लेते हैं। आई थिंक दीपक शर्मा, यू आर आस्किंग अबाउट डिफरेंस बिटवीन सोशियोलॉजी एंड एंथ्रोपोलॉजी। कल वाले में मैंने बताया था वैसे, ओके। The differences you can see on 4 lines. ठीक है, first and foremost is scope, subject matter of study, then approach and methods used. So scope में क्या होगा, आप सभी को मैंने बताया था ये चीज़ तो, है ना। सो स्कोप ऑफ सोशियोलॉजी, यू कैन से इट स्टडीज मेनली मॉडर्न सोसाइटीज, इट स्टडीज ऑल सोसाइटीज वेदर इट इज मॉडर्न, प्रिमिटिव और पीजेंट। सब्जेक्ट मैटर, सोशियोलॉजी मेनली स्टडीज social aspect, it studies biological aspect also, social aspect also, all aspects in an integrated manner. Approach, sociology की basically approach जो है वो nomothetic है, that means laws about human society, social behavior. It is both nomothetic and ideographic. अगर हम बोले nomothetic, that means ethnology is nomothetic, right? And ideographic, ethnography is ideographic. Methods used here, you can say statistical methods, secondary resources, right? Here we use participant observation, field work. These are some differences. I believe it will solve your purpose, right? Now these topics we have taken broadly what could be the main topics, because rest what we can think of, evolution, primatology we can discuss a little bit. Okay, so many times they have asked role of primatology. ठीक है, so primatology is important in understanding the evolution, both biological and behavioral, or you can say cultural. है ना, biological you can try to understand that using even you can say language. ठीक है, biological through comparative anatomy, and the study of genetic distance. जेनेटिक डिस्टेंस को भी स्टडी कर सकते हो और कंपैरेटिव एनाटॉमी के थ्रू भी आप स्टडी कर सकते हो. वी नो दैट chimpanzee have 48 chromosomes, it is closest to us, 98% of genetic material of us and chimpanzee is similar. So in that manner you can use, right? Behavioral or cultural, you can study the behavior of apes, like their social behavior, grooming, aggression, dominance, etc., right? It can be useful to understand many of the you can say debates that are prevailing in anthropology. ठीक है, language का evolution आप study कर सकते हो. ठीक है, you can even understand the evolution of religion. ठीक है, evolution of religion also. ठीक है, so that can be useful. ठीक है, why primatology was part of anthropology? Who bring primatology into anthropology? Sherwood Washburn and his students took it forward. ठीक है, right? We have experienced that there are some questions like जेन गुडाल पे क्वेश्चन आ चुका है. ओके, सो जेन गुडाल पे आ चुका है, तो और भी आ सकते हैं क्वेश्चंस. ठीक है, रोल ऑफ प्राइमेटोलॉजी एक बार आया था, आई थिंक 2019 में आया था, और 2020 में क्वेश्चन आया था जेन गुडाल का, राइट. इन 2021 आई डोंट नो वेदर देयर वाज अ क्वेश्चन, आई डोंट रिमेंबर राइट नाउ. वाज देयर एनी क्वेश्चन? डायरेक्ट नहीं था. यू कैन बी आस्क्ड टू राइट ऑन कंपैरेटिव एनाटॉमी. Or skeletal differences. So whenever this type of question is asked, just start thinking from one side to the other. ठीक है, so if you are asked to differentiate between ape and human, so just think about the differences in the cranium and postcranial differences. ठीक है, cranial and postcranial. So in cranium you start with the top of the head, sagittal crest, right? Then size or the volume of the brain and skull. ठीक है, so उनका maybe 450-500, right? Anyhow it is less than 600 because 600 qualifies to be called as homogeneous में include होना शुरू हो जाता है 600. ठीक है, so 400 to so you can say 500 वेरी करता है, राइट. किसी का बड़ा साइज, किसी का कम. देन यू कैन से sagittal crest is already there. Forehead, because their frontal part of the brain which is the seat of reasoning is less developed. ठीक है, हमारा frontal brain developed है, so we have vertical forehead, they have receding forehead, right. We have, you can say, less developed, less prominent supraorbital ridges, they have more prominent supraorbital ridges. ठीक है, if you say then they have nuchal crest for the attachment of heavy neck muscles to hold their neck because they walk like this. ठीक है, nuchal crest is there. Okay, then you say that facial part of them is larger than the cranial, this you can say skull part. ठीक है, their head part is smaller in size as compared to the facial part. ठीक है, then you can say prognathism is there in apes than as compared to humans. ठीक है, we have nasal bridge which is more developed. ठीक है, more elevated, they have less elevated. ठीक है, then this teeth पे आ जाओ, so they have U shaped. ठीक है, we have parabolic. They have diastema for honing complex because canines are larger in size. लार्जर साइज टीथ हम दोनों के बराबर है, 30 to 32 ही होते हैं, है ना. नंबर ऑफ टीथ तो सेम ही है. न्यू वर्ल्ड मंकी के बाद में सभी में 32 टीथ ही है. ओके, देन यू कैन टॉक अबाउट चिन, राइट. टीथ के उनमें भी Y5 कॉम्प्लेक्स होता है, उनका थोड़ा लार्ज साइज होता है. ठीक है, Y5 पैटर्न उनमें भी होता है. ठीक है, हाँ, ये होता है कि उनका जो एनामल कंपोजिशन है उनका कम होता है, हमारा ज़्यादा होता है. एनामल थिकनेस of humans is more than them. Okay, that means we are adapted to the heavier, we can say harder foods. Humans are adapted to harder foods. They eat soft food. Okay. Then you come to down, then foramen magnum, they have posteriorly placed, we have centrally located. Okay. Then you come to this vertebral column. Our vertebral column have four basically curves, they have almost straight. Okay. Then you can talk about even hands, their thumb is smaller in size, and the opposability that we have, they have less opposability. Okay. Their fingers are curved, they have curved fingers because that helps them to cling. ठीक है ना, हमारी straight fingers है, so वो भी precision को help करता है. ठीक है. Then you go down a little bit, pelvic girdle, we have wider pelvic girdle, they have, we can say, elongated and narrow. ठीक है, pelvic girdle. Then you can talk about the femur and its head, right? Head of the femur, it has more angle in case of humans, and that allows more you can say flexibility, or you can say free movements to the leg. They have limited. The length of femur that we have is longer, slender femur. They have, you can say, short and a little bit thicker femur. Okay. Then we have this well developed linea aspera, they don't have well developed linea aspera. Even our knees are specially designed for bearing this weight in the vertical position, right? They don't have this much. Okay. Then curve in the feet and non-opposability of hallux, these are some features. So you can just write all these in sequence. So सिर्फ visualize करना है human को और ape को, you will be able to address that easily. ठीक है. Now there can be 2-3 questions like in paleoanthropology. एक जो आता रहता है, एक तो theories of bipedalism आ सकता है. ठीक है, that why bipedalism, हाँ हाँ, why consequences of or impact of this had been asked many times, but they can also ask the theories of bipedalism. Have it been asked earlier? So इस बार उसको prepare करो, whether it is thermoregulation, right, or procurement, ठीक है, or reaching to the higher branches is responsible for that. I have discussed that in detail in our those classes for this advanced classes. ठीक है, advanced classes में मैंने 4-5 theories उनका critique भी करा है. ठीक है, so you can watch it there. Then इसके अलावा इसमें I think अगर लिखना क्या है, so अगर कोई किसी specimen पे आएगा तो so you can easily understand that, like suppose they ask you on Homo erectus, right? So simply what you have to write that Homo erectus क्या है, नाम को explain करेंगे, Homo और erectus. ठीक है, so उसको explain किया, then you can talk about its time period and in which type of climate it was living. Then you have to talk about where it lived, geographical distribution. Then you have to talk about its features, physical features and cultural features. Then in physical features you have to talk about cranial and postcranial. In cultural features you have to talk about their subsistence, you have to talk about housing pattern, if they live in houses, you have to talk about if they have some belief pattern, you have to talk about whether they have created some kind of tools or not, so what kind of tools, all those things you have to talk about. ठीक है, so that you can deal very easily. So that is primatology and paleoanthropology, right? Now because there is one problem in our syllabus that in erectus के वहाँ पे paranthropus लिखा हुआ है, and many of you are confused कि how to study and how to read. See, maybe that syllabus was not well updated, so you have to put paranthropus as a variety of australopithecines. That is the accepted norm. right. Australopithecines have two variants, Australopithecus and Paranthropus. So, you study it according to that only, right. Do not get confused by these things. So, this is a general overview of physical anthropology. We will keep on taking more such videos on other topics also, like next session is on I think archaeological anthropology. Okay. So, in archaeology we will talk about some important sites from the world as well as from India. If you have any query, you can just write back to us, and if you want some topic to be taken, just text me, we will try to take it, right. Thank you, all the very best.